Hello, listeners. Welcome back to another episode. I think this is the ninth episode. I will be your host together with Jasmine and Veronica. And today's theme is very interesting, especially for me, because it will be regarding inner voices. This topic, I think it will spark a lot of curiosity for our listeners and a lot of conversation. So let's dive in. For the listeners to understand the inner voices, we will explain each of us what is it, our understanding of the inner voices? What is it for you?
For me, is the way I talk to myself is one of the inner voices. The way I hear, I talk to myself about can be sometimes my mom's or my father's voice telling me, or I recognize patterns or programs, as I like to call them, that are telling me not to do this or do that. And it's like, is this inner conflicts? Is this inner? They're really voices. Could be my ex-husband saying something, or an aunt, or an uncle, or my grandma. So all these things that I've learned during life that keep talking to me, and some of them can be painful. So when I feel this, then I know I need to do something about exactly this program or voice.
Yeah, I agree. To me, it's I think we have different inner voices, as you said. In coaching, especially, we identify it could be an inner voice that it criticizes you and also support you, or an inner voice that is protecting you. In my case, because I have to do a lot of inner work. In my case, it's always the one protecting me, but I could hear different voices within myself. It's kind of like an inner speech or inner dialogue that we all have. What about you, Veronica? Which of these voices
I don't think
understands you?
I can answer off with voices, but I can tell you something. I feel like I haven't really. I didn't know I had an inner voice. I didn't. I don't think I had deep reflection, the same way I have started when I started meditating regularly. So for me, the inner voice is the discovery of this year. I know I had it before because many times I would think. So for me, inner voice was my own voice. What happens when I don't speak, right? So I thought that was the inner voice. But I don't think that's it. I think that's not only it. And now I realize, especially when I meditate, I hear it very clearly that I don't have negative voices. I don't have this voice that would tell me that life sucks, which I hear a lot of people do. And I talked to one of the listeners of the podcast, and he was saying that you're so lucky. You don't have that negative voice that tells you that you suck and everything you do in life sucks and you will always be a failure and you will never succeed in anything and nothing you ever did was worth anything. I thought, what do you mean? I don't have that. I have a voice that's strict with me that sometimes when I'm lazy and I just want to sit and cry into my pillow, the voice says, no, come on, get up. Get up, wash your face. There's no time to waste. Come on, like make yourself a sandwich, whatever. I have that voice, but that's kind of like a nice voice. So that's what I can tell you about my inner voice journey.
Can I ask you, is this always been like this kind of voice?
Yeah,
Okay.
that I speak to myself, but I hear it's my voice, but like harsher, but like a bit more direct than I usually speak to myself. And then for some time, I thought that maybe, oh my God, I have schizophrenia. So I've been told by my grandmother that I'm a hypochondriac. And so I was always terrified of self-diagnosing myself, like with schizophrenia or, I don't know, autism or ADHD. So I'm always like terrified of it. But there is another voice in my head. And sometimes when I let my imagination go into that corner, which feels very exposing now to say it, but they have a conversation, you know? The
Hmm.
kind voice, the soft voice, and the harsh voice that's like, shut up, bitch. And it swears, and sometimes it's in Polish, sometimes it's in English. It's my voice, but it's like, what the fuck do you think you're doing now? Stop crying. Everything will be fine. But it also happens when I panic sometimes. When I am in a rush, I go around the house and I bump into things. And then I'm like, "Ah, I'm late. I'm losing my bags, my shoes. I'm bumping. I'm bleeding because I bumped." And then this voice is like, "Now stop, Veronica. Take a breath. Now shape up. Put on those shoes. Look into the window. Take another breath, and you're ready to go." And I'm telling you, it is me, but it's not me.
Mm. What about you, Jasmine? Which voice it was more in your mind when you grew up?
Oof. Many voices. But before I answer that, I want to something Veronica said is like about hearing the voices, the different kind of voices, and it might be you. I also want to add that you might also have archetypes, and the archetypes can be those voices talking to you, like the warrior telling you, shape up, Veronica, put your shoes, breathe, go. So the
What
inner voice
other?
is
Ah, yeah,
not
sorry.
is the inner voice is not only what we are experiencing or being programmed with, but we also can have the voices of the archetypes. That's very important for me. It is has been my mom, and many times my brother, my older brother, telling me, yeah, that I need to do something, or that I need to shape up, in not in a nice way. I experience them not as nice, and also from my mom. My mom, I remember, is something that I'm still working with. I keep working with it. It's about I love when my friends came to visit. I love to show them my toys, and love to share the what I saw as wealth with my friends. And my mom usually said that you'll never have anything because you always give your things away. And this is something that it has really bothered me for many years. So this was a voice I keep listening, and not today. It doesn't hurt today, but I can identify exactly moments in my life that had to do with that. I didn't do to begin with. To begin was just like a chaos, an emotional chaos. But today I can go exactly to the point this inner voice started, and this feeling started. And I try to work more with the archetypes today, like the mother and the daughter, the grandmother, the wise, the warrior, the warriorist, because these are the ones that are what I was born with.
That
Not
was
what
my next question. What are the archetypes voices? I've never heard of that.
Because the archetypes, if it's okay, Janice, if I answer.
Yes, of course. I was about to ask you the same
Yeah,
thing.
Yes.
yeah. The archetypes is like when we are born, as our soul brings the archetypes. Our soul is perfect. We get teach many things during life, and we forget what the archetypes are. So when we are working in our development, as let's call it personality development, or spiritual development, then we start connecting to what we already are. And this is so exciting, because then you see, oh, I always been strong, I always been. And then you understand why have happened things in your life. I know you girls have heard me talk about when everything, when something shows up in your life that hurts you, there, stop there, breathe, and dare to go in that pain and say, why is this hurting? Because when you do that, then you can hear this inner voice of this programmation you had, and then you can heal it. And it's also good when you do that and you heal it, then you can connect to another inner voice that is positive, that can remind you this you already solved. And there, well, I could talk about the ego too, but I'm not going there now. And somebody else talks.
No, this is very important to identify this. I will just share a little example of myself. Why did I ask you what voice you were hearing or resonates on your childhood? Because I remember when I was growing up, believe it or not, I really hated myself in terms of my physical appearance. Like I just couldn't see myself in the mirror for so many years because I was self-criticism constantly and I couldn't see myself. Like I felt the most ugly, disgusting human being. And this is true. This is genuine. And I'm sharing this with the audience because once you identify that the narrative that you saying to yourself over and over again, you somehow you believe it because perhaps someone in your childhood criticize you and you believe that idea only and you put it to yourself and punish yourself. As you mentioned, Veronica, that some people punish themselves constantly through that inner criticism. So it is very important for the listener to identify which voice is taking over your mind on your daily basis. Which are the voices, and is it influence you in a good way or in a bad way? How can change your voices, your emotions, and your thoughts. And also, I would like for us to share more about that essence voice because our podcast is all about that essence voice. How would you describe, Jasmine, when that happened, that true voice happened to you? How would you describe what is happening in that moment?
Of the just the question just brought tear to my eyes because in the moment you get in contact, I got in contact with my essence the first time. First, I was like, "What's happening? What's this?" I got in a way disconnected of who I thought I was. I like to explain it like you believe you are a sand corn, and then you are actually a whole desert. You are the whole Sahara. My teacher explains it like that, and it's so nice. And then when you suddenly realize that you are not the sand corn, and then you get like, okay, what's happening? You have to redefine yourself. But in that moment, the first time that I got deep in connection with my inner, then I realized that I could decide if I wanted to suffer or not. That was a decision. And many people would say, how can you say that? Because then I realized that everything that I was living had a purpose. And when I learned what the purpose was of what my experience, because it's my soul, my higher self. This higher self is the one person, is the because they will be different. The higher person is, for those who don't know, it's the let's see the conscious over our soul. It knows why we're here for, what we came to do, where's our mission, and when they don't see it, things happening bad or good, the higher conscious or the higher self will tell you, okay, what can you learn on this? And when you realize that and you feel so loved, you feel that you are never alone. And the more you do this, the more you get in contact with the essence, the stronger you get. Your actually your face changes, your hair, your whole body. It starts happening things in you that you cannot explain, but it is because you're in contact with what you're meant to be and not what you were learned to be.
But I feel like it's beautiful that you say it, but I feel like it's really hard for many of even the people I talk to even imagine of that because they have this voice who is telling them they're worth nothing and they cannot do anything.
I had that voice. I had the voice telling me that I will never. That's why I gave the example of my mom, right? And that voice was with me all the time. And the same thing is that because then that transfer to economy. I will never have nothing. I will never achieve nothing. I was, in a way, I was stupid. That's what I transformed that. I keep listening to that voice, and then I realized the only thing perfect I have in me, because we strive for perfection all the time. And I realized that the only thing perfect I have in me is my soul. That's the only thing perfect, because nature is not perfect. It's perfect in a way, but you don't see perfection in everything. You see animals are hurt, and that doesn't have to do with imperfection. It has to do with the beauty of difference of things. And when I realized that the only perfect I have was my soul, then I said, then I need to listen more to my soul. What's my soul telling me? What is my soul? What's my purpose here? And then I started going into that. But to begin with, I was very nursey. I was like, has to do with, with these patterns we have learned, that we think that this sand corn. And then I realized that I started getting more and more detached of that. And due to everything I have experienced, from really, really things that other people will say, that was awful, is the reason that today I can help people to guide. And I realized that I would have never come to where I am today if I didn't have a guidance.
Yeah, I do agree. It's very important because for the listeners, they might be in different process on the self-development. It's very important to identify who is talking to you, whether it's yourself or the programs that it might been built over the years. Once you identify that, you need to let space for meditation. What is meditation? Quiet. Quiet your thoughts, your inner voices, because just silence your thoughts and inner voices, we will really find that true essence that Jasmine was talking about. The true essence will never make you feel bad about yourself. You will feel it. You will know that it's your true essence by the feeling of unconditional love. And that's, you gain that through silence. Silence your mind, your what you're doing right now, these voices that sometimes torture us in our daily basis. But I would like to know, Veronica, what you...
Can I say something?
Yes, of course.
Because I just got an idea, because what if someone doesn't have the voice? And I thought, is it okay if I guide a quick thing that I do during my yoga practice when I teach? It's very quick. So basically, when you're listening, you just take a moment, you close your eyes, you take a deep breath. You can do it with me.
Okay.
And you ask yourself, how do I feel today? And then maybe you get a feeling. I will talk through. Maybe you get a word. And then you keep asking, how do I feel under that? If there is emotion coming up, ask, why am I feeling like that? Let yourself hear the voice. You can even pause, put a pause on this right now, and try to listen to what is happening in your head right now when you ask yourself, how am I? And then you can open your eyes, and maybe you pause this podcast, maybe not. Just see what happened. Write down the first thing that happens to you, and that's your inner voice, one of them. And that's just advice I have for the beginners who've never really stopped, like me last year, who never heard the voice, who don't even know what the essence voice is, who don't know what the good and bad voice is. Just try to listen to anything that happens that comes from your head. That was my little input.
That was beautiful. Is also a sort of grounding that Jasmine teaches a lot as a good shaman. Ground yourself first before any, because we live in a very busy society, and sometimes with this little practice, it will help you ground and silence your mind.
Yeah, and the voices from around. But yeah, you had a question.
Yes, regarding inner voices, I could say nowadays the one voice that speaks to me more is the one, the protector one that you were talking about, the archetypes, but also the one that look after me, who calm me down in moments that I have a lot of stress, and that is like a mother voice. It's always there. We as very intelligent humans, we have the ability to change our emotions and mood and thoughts through talking to ourselves constantly. And nowadays, thanks to the work that I do, this is the voice that resonates with me. What about you guys? Which voice you can hear nowadays, like in your current life?
As I said before, it's just when I feel sad, there is a voice that picks me up.
What about you, Jasmine? What voice you listening?
For me, is both the mother and the protector. Also, listen to one telling me what to do, what's my next step, which way I'm going, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and like keep doing this. You don't see it now, but you will see it soon. And then when I listen to it, you could call it the intuition or whatever. But when I listen to it and when I look back and I say, oh, this happened because of this and this, and then I can connect the dots. So it gives a lot of meaning in life. And the mother is like you describe it, it's very, it's like, I feel like it's holding me. It's the same feeling I get when I bathe in the lake or in water. It's like, it's the same feelings, that love of holding me, that I'm not alone. And the protector has been there, and many times have, because of that, have been saved many times. It's just beautiful when you get this quietness, and then you can listen because they're all the time there, but you don't listen because of the chaos. And regarding to what Veronica said, that about her example about listening to the voice, I would also add that I know we'll have a podcast about this, about meditations and all that stuff, but many people think that it's so difficult because it has to use so much time. You just need to start with 2 minutes. 2 minutes of breathing, conscious breathing, or 2 minutes of doing what Veronica showed. This is just a start. Doesn't have to be difficult.
Can I ask something?
Just care.
Does the inner voice, does it have to have a voice? Can it be inner feeling? Because when you talk about the essence and the essence voice, I don't think it's necessarily for me a voice that has like language. It's more like a stream of consciousness, like an intuition, and a stream
Absolutely.
that puts me like when I want to go somewhere, and I sometimes I don't have a voice, but I stand outside and I'm thinking to myself, what do I want to do now? What do I need to do? And then I have a feeling like, oh, go to a park. But it's not saying, oh, go to the park. No, it's like, hmm. And then I walk to the park. So does every voice have to be like a voice, or can it be feeling?
No, that's what I wanted to mention as well. Is comes to voice pattern feeling is what is really happening in your inner world. And I wanted to close this podcast talking about the intuition, because probably all who are listening to us right now, they probably felt an intuition somehow. Are you following your intuition in your day or your logic mind? That's my questions for the listeners. And yeah, we can close this episode with the intuition, which is a big topic. We can make a podcast. My last question: how often do you follow your intuition, ladies?
Well, I can tell you that I base most of my decisions on the intuition. I base my work on the intuition. I base my relationship, everything. And sometimes it feels like putting a lot on a shala of like, what am I even really listening to? But it's never failed me, and I've landed where I am now just because of intuition. I had to choose a place. I want to go abroad to study, and intuitively, I felt like, it's going to be Portugal or Denmark. And then I felt like, Denmark, such a big choice. I never questioned it. Okay, Denmark. And then I felt just all those things that kind of put one after another, and then all of them were based on intuition. And my work is also, I'm teaching yoga intuitively. So that means I don't have prepared 1 hour of what I'm going to say. I have perhaps 2 or 3 poses that I have in my mind, and then when I enter the room of yoga, the intuition takes over, and it feels like entering a very comfortable car that is driving itself, but I trust it with my life, and then I drive in, and that's my intuition. And I think people like it because my classes are booked, and people are happy. So I think it works out for me.
Beautiful. What about you, Jasmine?
Thank you, Veronica. Thank you, Janice. That's a very good example of the flow. When your intuition is so strong that you can just let it go, you trust it, and for me, it's like all the time. I don't need to even ask. I know that's the way to go. When I have the session with drumming or the session with the one-to-one mentoring or courses and everything, I might have a plan of where I am and where I want to take where my students are and where I want to take them. But I decided once, okay, I have to have some points, like Veronica is doing with these two poses. I have to go talk about this, and everything else that happens is guided with everything. I'm listening. I can connect with guardian angels, with the many others, light beings. So we can have a podcast about that too. And then magic happens. the drumming, the sounds. I can start listening a sound in my head, and those are the sounds that are coming out when I'm drumming. And
Oh my
well,
God, we both heard you drumming, Yasmin, and that was amazing. Very intuitive.
Beautiful. Yeah.
and I
This,
can do that with even with music, not necessarily the drum, but with music and using more my voice. And this is something that I always told me that I couldn't express myself, that I didn't because I didn't know what to say. And being a teacher, it was nothing I thought about as grown up. As a child, I did, but not as a grown up. And I see that my expression gets better and better with music, with teaching, and that I was very scared of. Today I see that I was scared of is what made me who I am, fronting that fear.
What about you, Janice?
no, I was about to say that this is the clear example of how you, when you use your intuition, lead you to go with the flow in life, to enjoy these beautiful expressions that we are here for, like doing this podcast. But anyways, with this, we'll conclude this episode. I will see you in the next episode. We will talk about meditation. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.